Hey everyone, it's Juan Carlos Matos again, AVP for Student Affairs for Diversity and Inclusion. So hopefully you were able to watch the OMA video, talked about our office, our staff, and a little bit about our resources. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that now in connection to Fordham's mission, of course, wanting to create a multicultural and multinational society and really recognizing the dignity and uniqueness of each person, right? So you all as members of the Fordham community are and should be aligning your club missions to Fordham's mission. And similarly, again, similar to the video, OMA really focuses on honoring and respecting the dignity and uniqueness of each person. We promote an inclusive culture and learning environment and ensure that every student feels welcomed and valued. These goals were reviewed in the video, but breaking down into 3 pieces, we tackle multicultural and intercultural competency through network programs, dialogues, and workshops and training. Diverse student engagement, whether that's cultural club and student support, and through our cultural programming coordinators and cultural programming committees. And then ultimately creating a welcoming and inclusive environment. And that happens through our Cultural Heritage Month events and then all year round many identity-based events and programs. This is an overview of the cultural months that highlight the programming that we do, but of course we do a lot of the programming all year round. So Latinx and Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th through October 15th, LGBTQ history in October, Native American and Indigenous, November, Black History, February, Women's History, March, and Asian American Pacific Islander in April. And the best way to follow us and get more information about upcoming events and ways for us to know about your events, if your club is also on social media, is Instagram. Instagram is really the main way that we've been interacting with folks. At Fordham OMA is our main account, and then each of the 6 cultural heritage committees have their own Instagram accounts as well. So definitely please feel free to follow those accounts and share information with those accounts, and we'll be able to, as best as possible, try to share information about your events as well. So one of the things that I think is really important is really to sit down and reflect about your community. And in reflecting your community, if we think about your identity, the identity of others, looking at identity across a number of different factors, right? So if we're looking at race or ethnicity, looking at sexual orientation, ability, looking at religion, right? There's so many different aspects of social identities that we bring into every space. And it's really important to really take a moment to reflect on that. And that's really how you tackle inclusive leadership and inclusive club programming, right? You start to identify who are the voices that are missing in the programming that you're doing, and what ways can you intersect your programming to help elevate some of those voices that may not be there. So I'd like folks to take an opportunity to really sit down and reflect. You can kind of get comfortable, you can close your eyes, whichever way you think is the best way for you to just sort of take in a reflection activity. So I'm going to read a number of community groups, and I'd like you to reflect on those individuals within those groups and think about their set of social identities, but also in comparison to your social identities. So thinking about identity, privilege, marginalization, really thinking about all of those things for each of these groups. So let's begin. I'd like you to reflect on your immediate family members, your neighbors growing up. If you had healthcare providers like doctors, dentists, or therapists. Your classmates in elementary or middle school. Your teachers in elementary or middle school. Your classmates in high school. Your teachers in high school. Your friend group growing up. How about your best friend or best friends growing up? your classmates here at Fordham, your professors at Fordham, members of your executive board, general board members in your student club, your friend groups now at Fordham. So hopefully folks had the opportunity to reflect critically about your identity in relation to others and really start to think about which voices are missing, which voices really can be more included in your club leadership, in your club membership, but also reflecting on the events that you put on and the ways that you're able or not able um, to elevate folks, and what can you do moving forward to move in a better direction. So what goes into creating a successful program? So many of these things go along successful event programming across the board, but it's always a great reminder to have some of this information. So what's the purpose of your program? And in what ways can you share that in advance and upfront with your audience, right? Thinking of the members of the community. Ways to have effective programming. What ways are you using social media? And what are other best practices that maybe your club has seen with your club members? Are they newsletters? Are they Instagram posts, like I mentioned? Is it Twitter or is it Facebook? Really taking account for those mediums. And thinking about inclusive programming. And this is definitely a work in progress. This video being an example, we're still in the process of recording and providing closed captioning for the Zoom videos. I'm working with my team on that. But how do we start thinking more about this as we continue to work moving forward and thinking about inclusive programming, right? Post, video, what type of language are we using? Are we using gender inclusive language? And other things to think about. Are we including folks of various identities where possible, right? So if we're having information or we're having a program or we're doing something going on, let's say, for example, about business, is every person on that panel or every person that's being highlighted male identified? Are they all white? Are they all people of color? If they are people of color, are we accounting for the various skin tones of individuals to ensure that we're not falling into colorism as a trap, right? So really thinking about this across a number of different dimensions to really think about how to be inclusive for programming. Thinking about your intended audience, right? So thinking about the context of your information, what additional resources could you provide for folks to either look into that programming more intentionally in the future or even on their own ways to engage or interact with that content? And what are potential next steps? And knowing that with COVID and the COVID restrictions, not all events have food components, but when possible, is it representative of the goal of the program? Is it inclusive of dietary restrictions? Things to take into consideration, of course, this year being a very different year, but very much so going into the future as well as a club leader. And really to kind of drive us home, thinking about the intention about being inclusive, right? So this really connects back to the conversation and reflection from the community reflection, right? So thinking about your e-board, how inclusive or representative is it of the Fordham community? What about subcommittees or other groups that are a part of your committee? And if not, again, what are ways that that can be addressed? Are there ways to elevate voices through social media, through diversifying panels or other opportunities through events? What does that look like? And what are some long-term goals for yourself and for the club, right? As we really expect and explore what it means to be a member of the Fordham community in the roles that you all can play as students to really help continue increasing the idea of Fordham being a welcoming and inclusive community. And while the community, similar to the world, isn't perfect, each of us have a role to play in really pushing that agenda forward. And I think it's really important for us to continue to do that as a community. So I want to thank you for checking out this second video. Hopefully you learned a little bit about the Office of Multicultural Affairs. And if you're looking to connect with us a little bit more with regards to opportunities, collaboration with your club, you can definitely email us at culturalrh@fordham.edu. So again, that's culturalrh@fordham.edu. Thank you very much and take care.